Have you ever thought about how much you rely on electricity every single day? When the power goes out, it's more than just an inconvenience. It's a stark reminder of how central electricity is to modern life. From the inability to charge your phone to losing access to heating or cooling, power outages can disrupt our routines in ways we don't often consider. In this video, we're counting down the top 10 things you'll miss immediately when the power goes out. Some of these might surprise you, while others will make you appreciate the little things you take for granted every day. Stick around to discover which items and conveniences top the list, and maybe even learn a few tips for staying prepared when the unexpected strikes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your own experiences with power outages in the comments below. 1. The absence of light. When the power goes out, the first thing you'll notice is the sudden darkness. It's an oppressive void that replaces the usual comforting light that you almost never think about. The warm glow of your favorite lamp, the subtle, constant illumination of your digital clocks, or the steady beam from your ceiling fixtures, all gone in an instant. Without warning, your house feels alien. Everyday tasks like walking to the kitchen or searching for a flashlight turn into awkward stumbling and fumbles. Your eyes strain against the shadows, trying and failing to adapt quickly. The absence of light creates more than just a physical inconvenience. It's disorienting. Spaces you deemed familiar suddenly feel unpredictable. You bump into furniture you should have easily avoided. The anxiety mounts when you realize how unprepared you are. If you didn't already know where to locate your candles, flashlights, or emergency supplies, you'll find yourself muttering curses in the pitch black as you empty out drawers in frustration. Without light to guide you, even the simplest routines are thrown into chaos. Cooking, reading, or even brushing your teeth becomes a hassle. Any semblance of normalcy dissipates as you confront this new, temporary reality. Then there's the sudden relevance of the natural world once the artificial light disappears. The sun dictates your schedule now. If it's nighttime, forget productivity. It's time to sit in the dark and wait for morning, praying the power comes back before you run out of candles. And if it's daytime, every minute of light feels like borrowed time to scramble and get things done before the encroaching darkness returns. You realize just how completely dependent you've become on the reliability of electricity to illuminate your world. When the lights go out, it's more than dark, it's unmanageable. 2. The silence. If the absence of light feels jarring, the oppressive silence that comes next is downright eerie. Power outages don't just take away light, they steal the subtle yet constant hum of modern existence. Refrigerators, air conditioners, heaters, and countless other devices create a steady backdrop to your life. You may not notice their low buzzing or mechanical sounds on a daily basis, but when they're gone, the silence is deafening. This silence isn't comforting, it's unsettling. The house feels hollow, almost lifeless in the absence of the usual white noise. At first, you'll try to tell yourself that it's peaceful, but the creeping feeling of unease quickly takes over. Without the hum of electricity, your ears start tuning into noises you normally ignore. The wind outside sounds sharper, clocks tick louder than you thought possible, and every creak of the floorboards feels like something you should investigate. The silence becomes a breeding ground for paranoia, with your imagination blowing every sound out of proportion. And this isn't the quiet solitude most people crave. It's the suffocating kind that amplifies your isolation. Conversations feel strained without the faint background noise to cushion them. If you're alone, the silence wraps around you, amplifying your loneliness. If you were trying to sleep, good luck. The normal hum that helps you drift off is replaced with a stillness that makes every small sound a jarring interruption. You never realize just how much you rely on a subtle hum to drown out life's ambient creaks and groans until it's gone. The ironic part is how quickly this silence becomes unbearable. It doesn't take hours or days. Within minutes of the power going out, the quiet digs into your nerves, especially paired with the absence of light. Only then do you appreciate the constant presence of electricity, the way it fills your life with an unspoken soundtrack. Without that cushion of sound, your home sounds foreign, every last creak and rustle demanding attention. It's unnerving, uncomfortable, and above all, it's a reminder of how fragile your daily comforts truly are. 3. Loss of communication. When the power goes out, staying connected to the outside world becomes a real challenge. The devices we rely on, smartphones, laptops, internet routers, are all powerless without electricity. Cell towers may have backup power at first, but don't expect them to last long. Once batteries or generators fail, you can forget about making calls, sending texts, or accessing the internet. Even if the towers are functional, overloaded networks mean slow or dropped connections. No power means no television or radio, cutting off news broadcasts about the situation. This lack of communication doesn't just cause inconvenience, In emergencies, it can be downright dangerous. You won't know if a storm is about to worsen or if evacuation orders are issued. Without real-time information, you're stuck guessing what's happening around you. What can you do? Start by having a backup plan. Portable power banks or solar chargers can temporarily extend your device usage. Hand crank radios are an invaluable asset. Yes, they're old school, but when everything else fails, they could save your life. Satellite phones, though expensive, are the gold standard for communication during long-term outages. Also, print important phone numbers, family emergency services, shelters, because they won't do you any good locked inside a powered-down device. Losing connection with the world may happen fast. Be ready for it when it does. 4. Food spoilage. Without electricity, perishable food in refrigerators and freezers starts to spoil, and it happens faster than you think. A full fridge will keep food safe for about 4 hours, and a freezer, if unopened, may last up to 48 hours. After that, meat, dairy, and leftovers become unsafe to eat. The longer the power's out, the less usable food you'll have. The waste alone is a punch to the gut. All that money spent on groceries melts away with each passing hour. And unless you've planned ahead, food spoilage leaves you scrambling for alternatives at the worst possible time. Grocery stores may be closed, or supplies could run out quickly. Lines for non-perishable items will stretch for miles, and panicked shoppers will grab whatever's left. Your best strategy is preparation. Have a stock of non-perishable food like canned goods, rice, beans, and pasta. Use your perishable items first. Cook them quickly if you still have access to some form of heat, like a propane stove or campfire. Invest in quality coolers and keep plenty of ice packs or frozen water bottles on hand. For a longer-term solution, a small solar-powered fridge can keep essentials cold during sunny periods. Finally, don't overlook old-fashioned methods like root cellars. They're naturally insulated, making them a decent place to store fruits and vegetables. If things stretch into weeks without power, consider dehydration or pickling to preserve what you have left. The bottom line? Without electricity, food goes bad fast, and the burden of feeding yourself and your family gets incredibly difficult. Act before it's too late. 5. Cooking challenges. When the power goes out, one of the first things you'll realize is how much you rely on electricity to cook food. Electric stoves, ovens, microwaves, useless. Your fridge and freezer? No power means they turn into ticking time bombs for spoiled food in a matter of hours. This isn't just inconvenient, it's downright stressful. Alternative cooking methods aren't always as simple as they seem. Sure, you might have a backyard grill, but have you thought about whether you have enough propane or charcoal to sustain cooking for days or weeks? And don't forget, grilling outside isn't safe during inclement weather. Portable camping stoves with gas canisters can work, but they require proper ventilation. Using them indoors could lead to dangerous carbon monoxide buildup. Got a wood stove? That assumes you not only have one, but also a steady stockpile of seasoned firewood ready to go. And let's be honest, not everyone has the skills to build and maintain a fire without wasting time or resources. If you're thinking of going high-tech with a solar oven, remember that it only works under very specific conditions. No sunlight, no cooking, and outside of sunny environments, solar ovens are simply unreliable, which is a gamble most can't afford when food preservation is on the line. Preserving food becomes another headache altogether. Spoiled groceries are inevitable when the refrigerator stops humming. Without power, frozen items quickly defrost and become a breeding ground for bacteria. Cooking perishable items as soon as possible can save what little you can, but unless you're well stocked with canned goods and other non-perishables, meal prep isn't just difficult, it's chaotic. Stockpiling shelf-stable food ahead of time is your best bet, but did you actually plan enough meals? Did you grab enough staples like rice, beans, or pasta, which can be cooked relatively easily with minimal power? If not, you might be staring into a pantry of snacks that won't sustain you for long. Preparation is key, but it's easy to get wrong. If you think you'll figure it out in the moment, you're setting yourself up for failure. A power outage isn't the time to experiment with makeshift cooking setups or realize you don't have the right tools. Investing in basic but reliable solutions like camp stoves, cast iron cookware, and plenty of extra fuel ahead of time could make all the difference. But if you don't plan now, you'll feel these cooking challenges almost immediately. 6. Water access. No power means no water. That's a hard truth most people don't think about until it's too late. If your water supply relies on a well pump or municipal system that needs electricity, you're about to find out how crucial that infrastructure really is. The average person needs at least 1 gallon of water per day to stay hydrated and clean. But without power, you lose access to those reliable faucets. Flushing toilets? Washing hands? Taking a shower? Forget it. Your usual water routines will come to a screeching halt, and every drop will suddenly feel precious. If you've already stored water, good on you. But do you have enough for everyone in your household? It's amazing how quickly a family can burn through even gallons of stored water during an extended outage. And if you don't already have some filtered and stored in durable containers, you're going to wish you did. Buying bottled water during an emergency? That's assuming the stores still have stock by the time you think to grab some. For those who think they'll just grab water from nearby natural sources like rivers, lakes, or streams, think again. Not only might those sources be contaminated with pathogens, but purifying water isn't as straightforward as it seems. Do you have a reliable gravity-fed filter, water purification tablets, or even a method to boil water safely? Sure, boiling works, but that assumes you have a heat source for it in the first place. Running out of water quickly puts you in dire circumstances. Dehydration sets in faster than you think, and its effects, fatigue, dizziness, confusion, make it harder for you to function, let alone solve problems. Basic hygiene also becomes a challenge. Want to wash your hands or clean a wound? You'll be torn between conserving water or staying sanitary, a decision no one wants to face. Even storing water has its challenges. Water needs to be stored in clean, food-safe containers. It also needs to be rotated out periodically to avoid contamination or stale taste. If you've underestimated your needs or skipped these steps entirely, you'll feel the consequences when your backup supply runs dry. The bottom line? Water access is one of the most immediate issues you'll face when the power goes out, and it isn't something you can just wing. Without solid prep, stored water, purification tools, and perhaps even knowing where safe natural sources are, you'll find yourself scrambling for solutions to a problem that escalates quickly. Planning for water access well in advance isn't optional. It's survival 101. 7. Climate control. When the power goes out, the first thing you'll miss in extreme weather is your ability to control the indoor temperature. Heating and air conditioning systems, which we take for granted, are rendered completely useless. If it's a freezing winter night, your once cozy home will lose heat far faster than you expect. Without electric heating, keeping warm becomes a serious challenge. Sure, you can layer on blankets and extra clothing, but there's only so much insulation a sweater can provide when temperatures dip below freezing. Wood-burning stoves or propane heaters might offer a workaround, assuming you have them and the proper ventilation to avoid turning your home into a death trap. On the flip side, summer outages are just as unbearable. No air conditioning or even a basic fan means your home becomes a sweltering box of discomfort. The heat will build up quickly, and all you're left with is sweating through your clothes and a constant feeling of sticky misery. If you're lucky enough to have an evaporative cooler or a battery-operated fan on hand, you might get some relief. Otherwise, you're stuck sitting there, wishing you hadn't taken your air conditioning for granted. Cold showers or damp cloths can provide a temporary reprieve, but don't expect miracles. For both extreme heat and cold, your ability to adapt relies heavily on preparation. Unfortunately, few people are truly ready for days or even hours without climate control. This sudden reliance on primitive methods of staying warm or cool can feel like stepping back centuries in terms of comfort. 8. Loss of entertainment. Entertainment is one of those things you don't realize you depend on until it's gone. When the grid powers down, so does your TV, gaming console, computer, and anything else tethered to electricity. Streaming services like Netflix, off the table. No internet means no social media, no YouTube, and definitely no mindlessly scrolling through TikTok. You're left in a sudden and jarring silence that most of us are simply not equipped to deal with. For many, the realization hits harder than anticipated. What do you actually do with your downtime if your go-to distractions are unavailable? If you've got a stack of unread paper books sitting around, now's the perfect time to finally pick them up. Otherwise, you're left digging through closets for some old board games or dust-covered puzzles you haven't touched in years. Monopoly, chess, or even a deck of cards can kill some time, assuming you have people around to play with. If finding analog entertainment doesn't work, your options dwindle quickly. Storytelling, word games, or simple, meaningful conversations may help pass the time, but let's be real. With modern attention spans, this isn't going to cut it for long stretches. It won't be long before you feel bored, restless, and possibly even irritable. We've grown so accustomed to constant stimulation that its sudden absence leaves an uncomfortable void. For those dependent on electronic devices, this aspect of a power outage might feel more agonizing than the physical discomfort of losing climate control. Truthfully, the loss of entertainment can completely shift the dynamic of your household. Some families might bond over shared activities, while others might find themselves snapping at one another out of sheer frustration. The digital world has been our escape for so long that many don't know how to cope without it. And being forced back into analog activities feels like an uphill battle. 9. Device battery drain. One of the first challenges you face during a power outage is the rapid decline of your device batteries. Phones, laptops, tablets, and other essential gadgets quickly lose their power, leaving you disconnected when you might need them the most. It's astonishing how dependent modern life is on these devices, not just for communication, but also for accessing vital information, staying entertained, or even navigating in the dark with apps like flashlights. Without electricity, your charging options are starkly limited, and every percentage point on your battery level feels like a countdown timer. To conserve power, every unnecessary function has to be turned off. Lowering your screen brightness, closing background apps, or enabling battery saver modes might extend your device's life. But even these steps only buy you so much time. Once the batteries are drained, they cannot provide the lifeline they so often serve in emergencies. Solar chargers, backup battery packs, or manual crank chargers could be lifesavers, but not everyone prepares for this kind of situation ahead of time. When your last device dies, so does your connection to the outside world. No calls, no warnings, no information. It's a complete blackout. This reality is a harsh wake-up call regarding how dependent we are on our gadgets. A power outage is a stark reminder that your smartphone isn't just for social media. It becomes one of your most critical survival tools. The key is preparation. Because once everything goes dark, your battery is a limited ticking resource, and chances are that you'll waste some of it before realizing just how vital it is. 10. Security concerns. When the power goes out, the world seems a little less safe because it is. Technology has lulled society into a sense of security with high-tech surveillance systems, alarms, and floodlights. Yet in an instant, all these systems fail, leaving your home and community vulnerable. Without electricity, doors with electronic locks might be inaccessible, automated gates can't close, and those comforting glowing security cameras go dark. The power grid doesn't discriminate. Whether it's a small neighborhood or a bustling city, criminals recognize that a widespread power outage is an opportune moment to strike. Without alarms or cameras, securing your home boils down to old-school methods, and these often depend more on ingenuity and resourcefulness than on advanced technology. Perimeter traps, like tripwires using cans or other makeshift noisemakers, might serve as an early warning if someone attempts to enter your property. Likewise, having a loud alert pet such as a dog could deter intruders or at least give you the heads up to act. But if you're not someone who's put thought into manual security measures, you'll quickly realize how exposed you are. Another significant risk during a blackout is how easy it becomes to force entry. Automatic garage doors won't function, leaving cars or tools more accessible to theft. Windows, typically secured under the watchful eye of security systems, are suddenly weak points. Thick, reinforced locks can buy time, but determined criminals who know no reinforcements are coming might escalate. It boils down to how fast you can respond, if you even hear them in time. One simple, low-tech tool that can make a difference is a trusty flashlight. While it might feel counterintuitive to use a bright light during a security threat, signaling with one can alert nearby neighbors or indicate that someone in the house is awake and aware. A deterrent to opportunistic attackers. Flashlights can also aid in sweeping dark areas for signs of movement or obscure threats. The cold reality of a power outage is that it strips away society's many protective layers in one fell swoop. Between the unlit streets and silent alarms, you'll feel the vulnerability set in almost immediately. These bitter lessons in security don't require a generator or any apps to fix, but they do demand mindfulness and preparation. Simply put, if you're banking entirely on modern systems to keep unwanted visitors out, you're in for a rude awakening. 11. Loss of timekeeping. When the power goes out, your usual way of keeping time disappears instantly. Clocking hours, syncing schedules, and planning your day suddenly become a guessing game. Without power, the digital clocks on your stove, microwave, and phone screens go dark, leaving you in a timekeeping void. Sure, your analog wristwatch or battery-powered clocks can still function, if you remembered to set them. But for many, these options are an afterthought in a world dominated by digital technology. Timekeeping is crucial for staying organized, meeting deadlines, and maintaining a sense of control over your day. Without electricity, the convenience of everything from alarms to world clocks vanishes. Even the sun, nature's oldest clock, is only useful to a point. Cloudy skies or unfamiliar terrain can throw off your sense of time entirely. For those who rely on automated systems to remind them of appointments, medications, or daily routines, losing this convenience can feel disorienting and downright frustrating. Alternatives to digital timekeeping don't necessarily come easily, especially in an unplanned outage. Sundials, while a clever thought, aren't exactly practical if you're indoors or during bad weather. Hourglasses might help you measure short spans of time, but they don't tell you the actual hour of the day. The only consistent fallback is following the natural light and dark cycles, which works until you realize how short daylight stretches feel when tasks pile up. Losing track of time is one of those inconveniences that feels minor at first, but grows into a chaotic mess the longer it lasts. 12. Adaptation and preparation. The keys to surviving a power outage are preparation and adaptability. Lack of power flips your normal life on its head, but how prepared you are determines if it's a minor nuisance or a full-blown disaster. Waiting until the lights are already out to figure out what you need means you've already lost valuable time and resources. Planning ahead is your best bet to make the situation manageable. Start with the basics. Stockpile food and water, non-perishable preferably. A refrigerator without electricity turns into a moldy mess in no time. And relying on dried or canned goods can save you from wasting hundreds of dollars in spoiled groceries. Don't forget about water. If the outage interrupts pumping systems, clean water access could quickly become a major issue. Missing this step when you still have the chance to prepare is a rookie mistake. Next, think about alternative power sources. Battery banks for phones and small devices can keep you connected for emergencies, but have a backup plan for extended outages. Generators are a must if you're in an area prone to long-term power issues. Make sure to stock up on the necessary fuel. A generator without gas is as useless as your dead appliances. Solar-powered chargers are also an option if you're looking for a low-maintenance way to keep small devices running. Light sources are another big priority. Rechargeable flashlights, candles, or LED lanterns can help you stay functional after dark. Don't underestimate how disorienting total darkness becomes as soon as evening falls. Even just moving around your own home can turn dangerous without proper lighting. Keep these supplies in an easily accessible spot. Having them buried in a drawer somewhere when the lights go out is asking for trouble. You'll also need to reconsider your methods of cooking and heating. Losing access to your stove can feel like a major roadblock, but portable stoves, propane burners, or even backyard grills are solid options. Just take fire safety seriously. An accidental fire caused by an improvised method is a quick way to turn inconvenience into catastrophe. If it's winter, remember that heating will also be gone. Extra blankets, sleeping bags, or alternative heaters are necessary to keep you safe from cold exposure. Preparedness is about knowledge too. Understand how to use your backup tools and familiarize yourself with emergency protocols. The middle of an outage is not the time to read instructions or test your equipment for the first time. This goes for everything from first aid kits to your generator. Staying proactive also means keeping stock of essential medications and first aid supplies specific to the health needs of your household. Beyond supplies, mental preparedness is crucial. Power outages disrupt routines, and testing your patience is a guarantee. Knowing how to adapt when your usual conveniences disappear is a skill many underestimate. Whether it's entertaining children without screens, organizing chores based on sunlight hours, or simply managing stress, staying level-headed can make all the difference. Mentally preparing yourself for discomfort goes hand in hand with practical supplies. Accepting that outages can and will happen keeps you from scrambling when they do. At the end of the day, facing a power outage boils down to resourcefulness. A little effort ahead of time saves you from major headaches later. Those who prepare will fare better, plain and simple. Those who don't, they'll find out how much they took power for granted the hard way. Preparation isn't optional when the lights go off. It's survival.